Hello, and welcome to Chaos to Clarity, the podcast that's your compass to navigate the exciting world of service-based businesses. If you're a determined woman in your current business adventure, striving to conquer the chaos and build your empire, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Maggie, your go-to business bestie and chaos navigator. I've spent nearly 2 decades in the service-based industry, building a photography business, a yoga studio, and now a thriving coaching practice. I've cracked the code to consistent income without all the chaos and noise. So get ready to increase your business growth, connect with your ideal clients, and find ease in both business and in life. It's time to turn your frustrations into inspiration and your chaos into clarity. So go ahead and grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and let's dive into the journey of building your dream service-based business together. Are you ready? Let's go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Chaos to Clarity podcast. Today, I have Amanda Stark with me. She is a human design coach and all kinds of other amazing things. So I'm going to let Amanda introduce herself and go ahead and tell us who you are, who you serve, and how long you've been in business.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie, for having me on. I'm so happy to be here chatting with you today. So, as Maggie said, I am Amanda Stark, and I am a coach for successful women who feel like they've been running on autopilot and are looking to find more of themselves and more purpose in their day-to-day lives. So I use human design, which if you're not familiar with human design, it is a combination of astrology, the chakra system, the Kabbalah, and the I Ching, and it's amazing. The thing I hear most from my clients is how validated they feel when they learn their human design. So I work with clients to help them really embody and use that information in a way that serves them and is actionable. So I use a combination of human design insight, mindset coaching. I'm also a certified life coach, and fun witchy magic to help women do all of the things they want to do and bring more purpose into their lives. And I have been in business for a little over 2 years now.
Cool. That is awesome. I cannot agree more. When I discovered my human design, I felt like it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, there's a reason for all of the madness, right? Like I'm a manifesting generator. So there is a reason why I start things and then start 10 more things and then maybe come back to them, but also try and find all the shortcuts to get everything done. There's a
Yes.
reason for it.
Yes, absolutely. It's the way you're designed.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, it was very grounding for me to realize that like it's okay to be that way. It's okay to be me, right? And not have to be like, I had a lot of people tell me for a long, long time, don't you think you should slow down? Don't you think you should do less? Why are you trying to do 3 things at once? And, while I'm not necessarily a like, yay, multitasking, but also like sometimes I thrive in a little bit of that chaos, right? When I can have 1 or 2 things going on at the same time, like I prefer that. And I get stuff done that way, whereas other people don't, and that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's exactly right for manifesting generators. You need to have a couple irons in the fire at all times, even if it isn't what we think of as traditional multitasking. That just lights up your brain. That feels good to you to have multiple projects and things happening. So absolutely keep doing it.
Right. I know. And it took a while for me to like shut those thoughts off and like just set them aside, right? And not worry about them. And then really tap into that zone of genius where I was like, oh, okay, what can I do that's exciting for me? And I get so much more done when things are exciting.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. So my first question is, what is something challenging that you have overcome in your business?
Ooh, lots of things. Of course, there's always a new challenge. As soon as we conquer one, a new one pops up for us to
Mhm.
continue to grow and evolve. I think the biggest challenge that I have overcome was really owning my own way of doing things and allowing myself to be the full, like, weird and witchy version of me. And that has felt so much better and had more success for my business instead of saying like, oh, I can only talk about these certain things, or like I need to keep certain parts of myself just for me and not share them with clients. And, that's come from just like the way that I dress to the things I talk about to the pieces of myself that I share publicly. And then also bringing that into my work with clients too has been transformational for them. And so just letting go of the like, oh, it's not okay to talk about that, or people aren't going to like that, or whatever. Yeah, some people probably don't, and that's okay. All that does is just make it easier to determine that I'm not the coach for them, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think as a coach, that is probably a really important like part of your coaching journey is realizing that yes, you can help anyone, but you can't help everyone.
Yeah.
And like knowing what you're about in your core is so important because it helps you not attract the clients who are not right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as coaches, our mission is to help people. That's what we want. So, like, you want the people to get the help that they need from the person that's going to best serve them. And like you said, we can't help. We are not meant to be the coach for every single person. There is a coach for every single person. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be you. It can be somebody else that is a better fit. And we evolve and change. A coach that may be the perfect fit for us at one time in our lives might not be later on, and vice versa, right? Like there's always room for that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I actually recently went through that. I was I was in a couple coaching containers because, manifesting generator. I can't be in just one, but I realized that one of the containers I was in was not serving me in a way that I needed it to. So, leaving that and shifting out of that and knowing that, if I'm leaving this container, I'm opening up a spot for someone else who is meant for that. But it also opened up for me the ability to learn more and do more in my own business. So, it was one of those things I was like, man, I don't want to do this. And it feels like I was scared and nervous. But once I did it and realized like, no, I'm helping myself as well as, that other coach to be like, here's a spot that's open for someone else. They need it more than I do. I am not the right fit. This stuff isn't going to fit into what I want to offer as a coach. So, really realizing that I think was super powerful, for me, and just it gave me another way to help other people if they're feeling that way, right? If they're feeling that like, oh, that kind of wishy-washy of like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't know if I should. And having that like back and forth of like, oh, should I, shouldn't I, right? Like knowing when to trust your gut, or, I guess however you best make decisions, right? For me, it's my gut. If my gut is kind of going, I don't know about this, maybe not, right? Like I know that's probably a no for me. But if if my gut is like, oh yes, can we start yesterday? Right? Like that helps me just be that much better for that person.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Exactly what you said. And because I can't help but nerd out on human design a little, like what you said specifically about that coaching container, like for someone with a gut response, like a sacral authority, it can feel like being let off the hook to say no, like, oh, it's okay for me not to be in that coaching container anymore. Amazing. Like, that's great news. So, that's definitely.
It was so amazing. And I had so many like mental downloads of like things. Like I unlocked a whole new like course that I want to provide and offer because I let go of that coaching container, right? Like that coaching container was consuming so much of me that it was blocking other things from like coming to me, other programs, other ways to help people. When I let that go, like all of this stuff started like coming. Like I have this big, huge piece of white paper, that like this big whiteboard that I like drew all this stuff on and wrote all this stuff out. And my husband was like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's like it's 12 different little mini minds or one big mastermind of things that have been like mulling around up in my brain that are now out on paper. And now I can start acting on all of those things because I have the space to.
Yeah, I love that. So good.
Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you would tell your younger self?
Ooh, these are such good questions. Okay, so I would tell my younger self, ooh, so many things. I like want to sit her down and be like, listen,
Yeah.
let me tell you. I would tell her that she is perfectly worthy and valuable exactly as she is. Ooh, and I might get emotional. Oh, the questions, Maggie, are killing me. But that she deserves everything that she wants, and she doesn't have to settle for anything less than that in any area of life. And I think it's a good reminder for my current self to hear that too. Always. That's always a good thing to remember. But my younger self definitely didn't believe that. My late 20s, early 30s, for sure, that I definitely didn't believe that that was true for me. And I want to go back and tell myself that it definitely is. And the sooner that you realize that, the better things are going to get.
Yeah. I think that's a good reminder for everyone, right? Just that like you are worthy and you're perfect just as you are, right? Like I know my younger self would also need to hear that. And I know that there are times where she comes back and like, those little reminders of things that's like, hey, remember when this thing went wrong? Remember that? Right? And then it's like, oh, yes, I remember that. Thanks. We are not going to revisit that. Right?
Yes.
Like we are better than that. We are still worthy of all of these amazing things that we have. So, definitely a good reminder that as you're chasing your dreams, right? Like don't what are the words that I want to use? Like it's okay to like dream really big, right? I think some
Yes.
people I've had clients who, they've like, oh, I've got this really, really crazy big dream. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Right.
Yeah.
Like the manifesting generator in me is like, yeah, you can do this. And I am here to be your hype girl. Right. But then, you see that like shift in their like demeanor, their face, and they're like, oh, but I don't know how. Maybe I shouldn't go quite so big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So like taking the time to really sit with yourself and just remind yourself that like, no, you can do it. It doesn't have to be like today, right now, but all of that stuff can be yours.
Yeah. 100%. I love that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So my last question is a fun one. If you were a kitchen utensil or gadget, what would you be and why?
Ooh. I would be a whisk. I like to mix things up.
Nice. I love it. I love it. That's probably my favorite question to ask people because it's such an off the wall question, right? Like no one is really expecting me to ask that. And then when I do, they're like, wait, what? What? The kitchen? What?
So funny though. That was probably the easiest question for me to get. It was just like as soon as you asked me, I was like, oh, a whisk. That's what I would be. Never thought about that before, but that's definitely the answer.
That's awesome. I love it. Some people get really hung up on it. Other people are just, nope, this is what I am. And I think it's just such a fun question because there's so many different answers, right? Like when I first started asking this question, I thought like, oh, I'm going to get a lot of people like the same thing over and over, but there are so many kitchen utensils and gadgets. Like I'm going to have to interview a lot of people.
So fun.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm going to drop all your links and stuff below, but go ahead and tell everyone how they can connect with you. Yeah, tell everyone the best way to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to play on Instagram. That is where I am most active and the best place to connect with me. So I'm on Instagram at Glitter and Gravitas. I'm also on Facebook under that same handle, but it's more fun with me on Instagram for sure. So check me out there. And then also my website is glitterandgravitas.com. So you can learn more about working with me there. But I also have a blog with tons of good stuff in terms of info about your human design, how we live in the world as women, and also some witchy tips for you over there too. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yay, awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I had so much fun chatting today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
Wow, what a great interview. Thank you so much for showing up here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast. Again, my name is Maggie. I'm so excited to connect with you. You can find all of the information, all of the links below in the show notes for today's interview. And I hope you have the best day ever.